Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to follow on now from the last video that I did where I showed you how to make a template for the leaves for Ranunculus. I hope you enjoyed that. The light box that you saw me use, which basically it's like a piece of perspex with a light system down the side. I found that on Amazon. I did put it underneath the details later on under the video, but you can get them quite inexpensively. The one that I got from Amazon was $13.99, so it's not that expensive, probably cheaper than some of your veiners and cutters. So the object of this video, I'm going to do Ranunculus again, but this time with the flexible paste. The difference being I couldn't find my Ranunculus cutters, so I'm going to use rose petal cutters, which most people have already got anyway. So just to show that if you haven't got the right cutters, you can still do it. So I'm going to take you down to my board now and show you what I'm using. So the cutters that I'm going to use are these here. So you need to start very small. So if you've got a full range of the sizes in rose petal cutters, you can do that. This one's a leaf cutter. I couldn't find the size in this one on my other rose cutters. It'll be knocking about somewhere, but as usual it's disappeared. But with it, because it's got a straight side on it, I can use that for the petals as well, so it's not going to have those pieces there. Then you need a small calyx cutter for the back, and it's a normal rose calyx cutter. If I can find where I've put it, it'll turn up when I'm not looking for it. So if you've watched the Ranunculus cutter video before, you'll know that I've started off with a half styrofoam ball. These are about an inch of these styrofoam balls, and then I've put a blob of icing on top, which this is already set. So what I did was I mixed some normal flour paste in with the flexible flour paste, so it's set a lot firmer than normal. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to start with the first layer by using the smallest cutter out of the rose cutters. So I'll just pop that to one side. Get some white fat on my board, just dropped a powder colour on the floor. Just move those out of the way. Let's put that away and roll that out. Don't be frightened of rolling the paste really thin. If you've got the cell boards with the sort of grey ones with the fleck on them, which unfortunately you can't get hold of now, being told that Orchard Products is no longer in existence, have gone out of business. Well, probably retired anyway. Margaret's probably retired, who ran it. I thought her daughter would have carried on, but perhaps not. Keep on rolling until you get it really thin. You can see how much lighter it's going when you roll it really thin. Oops. Right, once you've got it thin enough, you should almost be able to see through it. So if you've got the boards that have got the fleck in it, you'll be able to see the fleck through your paste. So I'm going to cut out 10 of these small rose petal cutters. What have we got there? There's one there that's come out. 8, 9, 10. Take your paste away. Pop that back in my bag of colours. And pop that to one side. It's better if you've got a little one of these little spatulas to pick your petals up. It's a lot easier than trying to pick them up without. get them onto your pad. Don't forget, everybody, if you've got any questions about anything that I'm doing in the video, then leave your comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Right, so we've done that. Now I'm not going to bother thinning the edges for the simple reason that I'm going to vein them with the silk veining tool. If you haven't got one of these, try and get hold of one of these. These are by Gem. So if you can find a sugar craft shop or online that sells Gem products, then this is the one that you need to get. There are porcelain ones around. I don't know whether they're still going or not. They started off with a firm called Holly Products who did the porcelain ones, but as I found to my detriment, drop it on the floor, it's broken, and that's it, it's no good. So when they brought this one out, I thought that's even better, because this, I've had this for donkey's years. I couldn't tell you how long I've had it. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick one of the petals up onto my hand, turn it round so that the point is away from me, like that. I don't know whether you can see that or not. I'm just getting my thumb out of the way now. And then vein it, stretching your petal out to each side, starting from the middle, roll out and roll out the other way. Pop that down. Now I'm going to turn that over, because this is going to go, I'll show you one that I've already done where they've done the centres here. It's going to be on the top there, so we're going to lay that so that the veining's upwards, if you understand what I mean, so you can see it. Most of the other petals will do it the other way around. I've got a little crack in that one, but never mind. So again, start from the middle, roll out until you've widened your petal, then get your tool underneath and turn that over onto there. Now I'm going to do that method with 5 of these. Picked a hair up from somewhere there, I don't know where that's come from. Whoops, come on, come off. That's it. Turn that round. I find that it's better to do it on the heel of your hand there, because it's a bit firmer than the rest of your hand, and it also stops the end from poking into your petal, so get that out of the way. And turn that one over. Turn it over with the point towards you, because you're going to glue the bottom part of it when you stick it. Well, we're going to glue this one all over actually. It's a bit like when you start off your rose centre. Similar sort of method. Roll out, roll out, roll out, roll out. With a lot of the other petals, I'll stop and start the video so you don't have to watch me doing them all, but I'm going to do all of these in real time. I know that I've had comments from people thanking me for doing it in real time rather than speeding it up or slowing it down or whatever. I don't know why people mess about with the videos like that, because it's a lot better to do it in real time so you can actually follow what the person that's demonstrating is trying to show you. I know it makes it easier if the video's a bit shorter to watch. Right, so we've got those veined on one side. Now I'm going to do the other 5. And this time the veining is going to be on the inside, because they're not going to go flat onto the centre. So this time I'll leave those with the veining face up. All the rest of your petals will be done this way now. And if you're not already subscribing to the channel, please subscribe, because you get notified when new videos are uploaded. So if there's anything that you want to watch, you'll know about it then. And if you've got any suggestions about anything that you'd like to see me do, then please do get in touch and let me know. I have had the odd suggestion, but not as many as I would like, because when you've done a lot of flowers like I have on video, it gets a bit difficult to come up with new ideas and see what people would like. I mean, there are plenty of other flowers that I could do, but they just haven't come to mind at times. So if somebody suggests something that they haven't seen, I'll try and do that. If it's something I haven't done before, which I have done on these videos, I'll find out how to do it, look at the real flower. I always look online for pictures of the flower that I'm going to do, and two sites that come to mind are photography sites that have practically everything that you could ever want. One is Shutterstock and the other one is Photographers Direct, and as long as you're not downloading them, you don't have to pay for them. It's free. You can study them online. You don't have to download the picture. If it's something that's a common flower, then the best way to do it is to get hold of a real flower and take it apart and see how it goes. As my teacher when I first started said, you'll never look at a flower in the same way, because you want to dissect it and see how it goes together. Right, so I'm going to glue these petals practically all over. I'm only using 5 petals on the first layer, by the way. The rest of the layers will be done in 7 petals. But basically I just want to cover this centre up. You won't be able to see this white bit or anything like that, so get hold of the, whoops, turned it over, first petal, and you want to get it right into the centre. Oops, wrong way up. Get your point down, get your top into the centre. Doesn't matter where your point falls at this point, you just want to cover that piece of paste, so it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, because you're going to cover it up anyway. Hang on, I'll just put my camera up so you can see what I'm doing. I get told off for this. People, you're going off camera, we can't see what you're doing. But it's a bit difficult for me to look down here and then look up at the screen where my camera is and do what I'm doing. So anybody that's ever tried to make a video will appreciate what I mean by that. Right, and then the last one. There we are. So you now can't see, when you look down at that, you can't see the bottom part of that. So then I go on to the next part and glue the next lot of petals. I'm only going to glue half of it this time. Don't forget, this is the vein side, because these are going to stand up a bit more proud, if you like, than the others. That's just plopped up. And then what you're going to do then is you're going to aim to get these in between the ones that you've just put on. But this time I'm only going to stick them down at the bottom and slightly lower down. They're a little bit fiddly because they're so small. Make sure you stick them down on both sides. Then the last one. So the centre just looks as though it's just starting to open up, like that. Okay? So then what you need to do is to put that to one side, and then what you do with that, then I've got some here that I've already done, that I've dusted with tropical lime, which is this colour here, from Edible Art, or whichever make it is you're using. You want a very pale green. If you haven't got a pale green, get the lightest green that you've got and then mix some white in with it to get a paler colour, so that your centres are quite pale. Just pop that back in there. So that is going to go to one side to dry. Now the next thing to do is to decide what colours you're going to do your Ranunculus. Now I've got some here that I've already coloured for an orange one, but I'm going to do this one a bit lighter so that I can show you how I did the colours. So you need to start off with your deepest shade, and what you need to do with each of the colours that we've got here, that's a bit lighter than that, and that's the lightest one. Right, now then, a Ranunculus, if you're doing it this way, starts off with the lightest colour in the inside. Don't ask me why, it's the only flower that does that, but unlike a rose, we're doing it the opposite way around to the way you do a rose. So you can't add your white paste in as you go along. You've got to do it before you start, because you want your lightest colour. But you do the same, adding half white to whatever colour you're using. So we'll start off with the lightest one. Just wrap that up, get that out of the way, and get some white out. For anybody who's watching for the first time that hasn't made the flexible paste, I'll put a link into how I made it underneath the video, so you can go in and have a look at that. So we'll start off by making this lighter. I'm going to make this one lighter than the one that I've done there, so they're not all the same. I've got a variation of different colours here, so when it comes to the colouring part, I can show you different colouring methods with your powder colours. Normally we've always started brushing in from the petals on the outside, brushing in, but one of them that I've done is a white one, and the variety that I found online when I was researching all the colours in Ranunculus, because I've got a lot in the garden but none of them are in flower at the moment, so I can't show you a real one. Plenty of leaves but no flowers yet. So we're in what month are we in? June, and they haven't come into flower yet, so I presume they'll come into flower next month in July. So there I've got, that's the first colour. So the second colour, I've not been exact with the amount of white that I put in, but as near as you can, you want the same amount of white as whatever colour you're doing when you're doing these different shades. It's a good way of getting the stretch into your paste, because you do have to work this paste quite well before you can get to the point where it's stretchy so you can roll it out. So bear in mind when you make this paste, anybody that hasn't done it before, there is quite a lot of kneading involved, probably more than there is with a normal flour paste, but it does work. And of course then you get your flowers like these that are all still movable. You can move all your petals about, you can open them up, you can close them down, you can do whatever you like with them when they're dry. So I'll just carry on with this. And I'm doing this in real time to show people how long it takes you to get your colour in. I don't always do that, sometimes I have the colour ready depending on what I'm doing, because it gets boring watching videos that are too long. But like I've said before, don't try and watch it all in one go. You can always stop it and watch a bit more later. Right, so that's the next colour. Then the one after that, I'm just trying to think what colour I used for this. Where's my paste? So I can tell you what colour I used. I've forgotten, I've missed that bit out, haven't I? No, it's not that one. Oh, there it is. Whoops! Nearly knocked my camera over, sorry about that. It's paprika flesh from Sugar Flare that I've used for that. Just be careful when you put in colour in. I mean, this is already coloured and I am getting a little bit of colour on my fingers, but when you're putting it in initially, it's a good idea to rub some of the white fat into your hands before you start colouring. That way you'll find it's easier to wash off. It acts like a barrier cream. So otherwise you'll be walking around for days with green fingers, red fingers, or whatever colour you've used. When you're colouring paste, to find out whether you've got the colour all the way through, it's a good idea to get your paste like that, cut it in half and have a look inside. If it's not streaky, then it's alright, you've got it to where you want it to be. So that's the next colour. And then we'll go on to this one. I've got a little bit of paste there, just need to add a little bit more onto that. Right. I would say just talk amongst yourselves, but I'm not doing a live class here like I did at college, so you can't do that, but this is a new lot of paste that I only made the other day, so it's a little bit softer and stickier than it was before, because it hasn't been around for a few days like some of the other paste has. It's quite easy to make, because some of the recipes that I found online for making flexible paste, you have to cook it and all sorts of things like that. Too much messing about. I want something that I can put together fairly quickly, and this you can use the next day after you've made it. We don't want anything that's going to take hours of making, especially if you're in a hurry. I suppose if you wanted to, you could try using it straight away. I haven't tried using it straight away, but you could always try and see how it works. So sometimes if you're in a hurry and you run out of paste, you know, sometimes needs must, you have to. Right, so we've got all the different shades there of paste. That doesn't look as dark as I think. That needs a bit more white in it. Bit better, slightly better. Right, so we're going to go on to the next size of the rose petals, which is this one. The first one that I started with is the smallest rose petal size that you can get. Just making sure I haven't got any more hairs on my hands. So I'll just pop those out of the way. The one advantage of using this flexible paste is it doesn't dry out like ordinary paste, so if you leave it out, it doesn't matter so much. But I wouldn't recommend it if you're a slow worker, but I mean, I'm fairly quick, so I'm going to do this in real time anyway, so it's not going to have time to dry out. Get some white fat on my board and roll the paste out. Don't get too much on, otherwise it slides around. You just want it to stick to the board, so you're not going to be picking it up and moving it around like I've seen a lot of people do. That's the wrong way to roll the paste out. Picked another hair. I don't know where all these hairs are coming from. It's not mine, it's too dark. And as I said before with the green, you can tell when it's getting thinner because it starts getting lighter in colour, because I've got this white board underneath. Even if you've got the grey boards, it's still a light colour, so you can see. Another way to tell if it's the right colour as well is to run your fingers over the top. Funny enough, you can feel how thick it is. Try it at different thicknesses and you'll see what I mean. Right, dropped some scissors on the floor. So now I want 14 petals now. Just move that round a bit there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Sometimes they stick in your cutter like that, but not a problem as long as you see it and manage to get it out. You have a problem pulling your paste up, then get your small palette knife in and pick them up like that. That's the non-greased side. Right, get rid of that paste. I can go back in the bag. It's finished with. Right, now then, like I did with the rest, we're going to vein these on my hand. Don't try and do it on your pad or your board, because it doesn't always work that way. You need that slight cushioning, but quite firm cushioning underneath. Stretch your petals like that. Then take that off and turn that round. I'll just put that onto my pad. Knocking my camera over here. Caught the wire from my camera, that's what did that. Put that over there. Whoops. Sorry about that. Oh. Turn you around so you can see what I'm doing. There we are. Sorry about that, I caught the wire as I was reaching over for my pad. First time I've done that. It's one of these days, isn't it? Like I said to everybody before, if you knew, you'll know that if something goes wrong, I do not stop the camera. I carry on. I'm a super trooper. Plus, as well, if you make a mistake, you can't tell people how to correct it if you don't. It's no good something going wrong and then you go off camera and put it right, but you don't tell people how they've done it, because if they have to make the same mistake, they're not going to know what you did, are they? That's the teacher in me, because when you're in a live class, as I've been used to, you have to carry on. You have to put it right. You can't stop the camera and turn it back on again, because that doesn't work. Things happen for a reason, and there we are. I mean, like for instance, somebody sent me a message about the glue and that sort of thing, you know. I mean, I use the ordinary glue made with Tylo powder, and hot water, which is what I do. I don't know whether it'd work with cold water, I've never tried it. I've always done it with hot water. And then you leave it, just pour your hot water in, give it a stir and leave it. And then it forms into quite a stiff glue. But over time, if you've made a lot of it, it will let down to a more liquid form over time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more for that row. But it doesn't matter if it's gone a bit thinner, it's still usable. Sometimes it's better to use it when it's let down like that, because it gives you more time to work with it. It doesn't dry out as quickly. But this paste does tend to soak up the glue, so don't try and do too many if you're working at a slower pace than me. Just making sure you can still see what I'm doing. I keep forgetting to look up at the camera. This is why I do sometimes go off camera, because I forget to look up there to see what the camera's watching. In other words, you. But at the moment, my neighbours over the road, if they're watching me, probably think I'm talking to myself. Probably thinking to themselves, well, bloody hell, he can't half talk to himself. Sorry about that, I did swear. But that's just me being me. I'm a Yorkshireman. Some people think I'm not, because they say that I don't talk like a Yorkshireman, but I am. Partly down to the fact that when I worked in retailing, I worked all over the country, so, and also as well in the latter part of my trade, I worked for a couple of very upmarket firms where you're dealing with a different type of customer, who a lot of them probably went to public school, private school, so more well spoken. So when you're dealing with people like that, you tend to be a little bit more careful about how you talk to them and how you pronounce what you're saying. Also gave me a chance to meet a lot of famous people as well, because when you're working in that sort of business, and some of the cities that I've worked in, particularly Manchester and Leeds, where they have studios, you do get famous people coming into your shop. So yep, didn't have time to get their autographs though, but we'll forget about that. In the early days, for anybody in the UK that watch Emmerdale, I did meet practically all of the cast at some point in time during those early days. Right, so there we are. So we've got to that stage now, so I can get my centre. This is the one that I've already dusted. Get that to one side, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue the bottom part of the petals on these now. And now these want to go, you can start off in between the first layer that you had and leave one side open like you would with a rose. Push one side in. The reason for that is so that when you get to your last one, and then overlap halfway across that petal like that, and make sure both sides of that are in, and then do that continuing all the way around. Now with this set of petals, you should be onto your your styrofoam ball then. Again halfway across. and then your last one is going to tuck in underneath the first one, under there. That's it, like that. Overlap there. Just go around and tighten that in at the bottom. So you've got your first layer of petals like that. Okay, just pop that down there, and then we glue the next layer. And then what you're going to do then is you're going to go in between the join where your two petals cross over, then that goes halfway across there like that, at the same level. Again, you want to leave that side open so you can tuck your last one underneath. So just look to see where your join is there and pop your petals on there like that. Doesn't matter if they don't overlap as much, you're just aiming to get your petals in between now. It's just basically the same as putting your petals on a rose with this at this stage. That one up, put your last petal in, just bring that point down there, like that, and just go around and secure those. Now normally at this level I would leave that to dry, but because I'm doing a demonstration for this one I'm going to carry on. So then we go on to the next colour. Always remember when you're colouring paste as well, just something that's come to mind. I've probably mentioned it before in other videos, but again, for anybody that's watching that hasn't watched my videos before, remember when you're putting colour in, that when your paste dries, it's going to dry slightly darker than the colour it is now when you've kneaded it. So always bear that in mind. So it's better sometimes to put less in rather than more. So don't get carried away, because the thing is, you only want a base colour because a lot of it is down to the powder colour that you use. Powder colours are a lot cheaper, so you can have a much bigger range of colours. You just need some basic colours in your paste colours, and you can mix colours as well, so always remember that. Like I've always said with the greens, I don't buy all the different greens, I just have one green. The ones that I use are either Squire's Kitchen or Sugar Flare. In Squire's Kitchen, the one that I use for the green, which is the same colour as the one in Sugar Flare, is Holly and Ivy. In the Sugar Flare, it's called, now let me think, I've forgotten now. Christmas green. Not the Holly and Ivy in Sugar Flare, because that's more blue. So you want the Christmas green in Sugar Flare and Holly and Ivy in Squire's Kitchen. Any others you want, basically you want a mid-green colour, a bright green. You don't want anything that's too blue or too yellow. It wants to be a mid-green. Right, so I'm going to get on to the next size cutter up from that one that I've just used. Where is it? There. No, that's not it. Which is that one. So I'm going to cut out 14 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Just be careful you get all your petals, and check them when you've picked your paste up to make sure you haven't missed any. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, I've got them all. That one turned over. Right, can put that paste back now. So I've finished with that one. So now we go on to the next stage, stretching your petals out and veining them. It gets a little bit bigger, so you'll be able to see more of what I do now. So again, in the centre, roll out, stretch your petal, roll out. On the actual cutters for Ranunculus, they are a bit more sort of like this shape anyway, but we still stretch them even on the Ranunculus cutters. It's just that you've got a bit straighter top on them than you have on a rose cutter. But as you can see with this, anybody that's watched my previous video for Ranunculus can see that that almost looks the same. If you've got the Ranunculus cutters, by all means use them. But if you like to experiment like I do, then try it with the rose cutters and see how you get on, see what you think. With a lot of flowers, I don't always buy the veiners, because the veiners for petals sometimes are not that obvious, so because it's very difficult to see what the veining's like on such as Ranunculus and things like that. I tend to prefer using the silk veining tool for veining them. There's 1 or 2 flowers that I would use the actual veiner for, like a rose, because there are some good ones about now. Things like hydrangeas, I use a hydrangea petal veiner as well. Things that have got a lot of deep veining, like peonies and what's the other one? Hibiscus, which is a flower that I haven't done yet, which I will get round to eventually. There are 2 different kinds of hibiscus as well, if you don't know. There's the ones that you get in pot plants that you keep inside, which grow into trees abroad. So if you've been to anywhere, like I went to Tenerife, and outside the hotel, all the way down the roads, there were trees which are hibiscus trees, and I'd never seen one that big before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's the ones that we grow over here, which have got a totally different centre to them, a bit smaller flower and more petals. I have one in my garden, a pink one. The one that's grown over here as well in the UK, there is a blue one in that as well, which I don't think you get in the tropical ones. So how well related they are, I've no idea. I don't even know where my cutters and veiners are for that, so if I ever find them, then I will get round to doing that one at some point in time. Right, so this is the second layer. You can see how thin the petals have got on my mat there by rolling the paste thin and then stretching them again. Don't be frightened of it, it's very elastic, so don't think it's going to tear. If it tears, just do it again, you know, I mean, don't be put off if something's not going right. Doesn't stop you from doing it. I would imagine my neighbours across the road think I've gone bonkers because I'm talking while I'm looking down instead of looking up at the camera. But there again, you can't see me anyway, so apart from my hands, they don't know what I'm doing. Give them something to talk about. Some of them can be quite nosy. Right, nearly there. What I'll do with the next layers, I won't have you sitting through me doing all these petals like this. I did intend to turn off, but it's too late now because I'm down to the last 2. and I will turn off and come back when I've done them all. Just do one and then come back when they're all done. Helps to make the video a little bit shorter, but like I say, anybody that's just starting out that's never done anything before need to see everything step by step, how you do it and how you go on. Right, so that's all those done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to glue the bottom half of those and then get your centre that you've already done and start again going in over the join, so you've got coming up to the same level. Just pull that up a little bit, there they are, like that, down on one side, leaving the other side open, and all you're doing is you're aiming to put it across the join, so basically these petals are in between each other. And you'll find as you get further down under here, because it goes under, it opens the petals up a little bit as well. So your petals sit where you want them to be. I mean, I dare say if I took a flower apart, we haven't got as many petals on this as the real flower's got on it. But there again, that doesn't matter as long as it looks like a ranunculus. That's what we're aiming for. Nobody's going to stand there and count the petals on your flower and say, oh, the real flower's got more petals on than that has. And my answer to that, if anybody ever criticises your flowers that doesn't know, that doesn't do this, just turn around to them like I do and say, well, you do it then. Let's see how you do it. So that's the first layer. Then we're going to get on to the, I'll leave that stood up in my piece of wood there, and glue your petals again, half of the petal. I did a wedding cake not so long since for somebody, and the guest that saw the wedding cake said, I can't believe that those flowers have been handmade. They either look real or like very expensive fakes. So I took that as a compliment. Even though they did use the word fake. But there again, you know, if you buy good silk flowers that are quite expensive, they do look very realistic. So I suppose from that point of view, because somebody's having to make them anyway, aren't they? And although they're using different materials, they do use similar methods that we do to create a real flower. Right, lift the first petal up, and that goes underneath that, there, and that over there, and then just go around and make sure that they're nice and secure. So there we've got the next level. If you want to, you can open them out a little bit. It depends on how you want your flower to be. Some are more open than others depending on what stage you want the flower to be at. So if you have a look at pictures and have a look to see how they are, and then you decide. Pop that to one side. So we've used that one, we'll go on to this one. I'm only going to use one more colour on this. They don't all have to be exactly the same size. Don't be frightened of putting some pressure on. And like I said before, you sometimes find that your paste is a bit thicker in the middle, so always start from the middle and roll out, and put more emphasis on the middle than the edges. Because when you turn around and go the opposite way, like I'm doing then, you'll catch any of the other thick parts. See how much lighter it's going whilst I'm rolling it out. Right, we should have enough paste there to cut out the next layer. So I'm going to use this cutter, which is actually a leaf cutter, a rose leaf cutter. But like I say, the other, it's the same shape as a rose petal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This cutter's a bit dicky because it doesn't always cut quite as sharply on the points on this particular one for some reason. So I don't know what the problem is with that, whether it's something I've done with it or not, I don't know. But if your bottom bit gets a little bit untidy, it doesn't really matter because you're not going to see that, because that's going to be underneath. Just put your finger on your petal if it's doing that, and just pull the excess paste away, just very gently like that. This is what I mean about things going wrong. If this happens with you, a lot of people will get frustrated and probably screw the whole lot up. Don't do that if you can salvage it. Just pull that petal away. See, that one's stretched a little bit there, so it doesn't matter because it's going to be tucked away at the bottom. It doesn't. You're not entering a competition. If you were doing a competition, then yes, I probably wouldn't be happy with it. But we're not entering a competition, so I mean, the last time I entered a competition, it took me 3 months to do the arrangement of flowers that I was doing. Because at that time it was the NEC competition at in Birmingham, NEC, Cake International, and you had to do, how many flowers? Was it about 5 different flowers, and you had to do at least 3 of each. You can do more than you want over that, but you've got to have at least 3 of each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, I've done that wrong, haven't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, we've got them all there. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off now, and I'll come down back when I get to the last petal veining it. Right, I've just got onto the last 2 petals. So again, roll out from the centre, stretching your petal. Now some people might say all those petals are not all exactly the same size. Well, it doesn't matter. Because of the type of flower it is, anybody trying to measure petals on there need to get a life. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to go to all that trouble to say all those petals are not the same. Because looking at it, I mean, they'd probably go bleary-eyed if they tried to do that, or even if they tried to count the number of petals that's on it as well. All I can say is good luck to you. Right, onto the glue. Again, I'm going to glue half of it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Put that first layer on. Now I prefer to turn it upside down to do this, so you need to have a look to see which side your petals overlap on. So basically we're going to go the opposite way around to the way that we put the last layer on, and I've just managed to get another petal on top of that to stick, so we'll just get that out of the way and start off. See, oh, dropped one. Your point is going to go higher up than the other, so it comes to more or less the same level. We're not aiming to get the petals higher up and then stick it down on one side. That side wants to be open, because that's going to overlap on that side. And like a rose, I mean, you can tell where they go. Your points practically go side by side. And at this point you're practically covering your styrofoam ball. The reason why I said to let your first layers dry when you get them onto the styrofoam ball bit is because when you get a lot of petals on like this, you can end up with the whole lot sliding off. That wants to go underneath that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. That's gone a little bit too high up. Just pull that down a little bit. There we are. Right, and then your next layer, I'm just going to hang that upside down for now. And I would hang it upside down in order to be able to dry these. Otherwise your petals can drop too far back. You can keep coming back to it and open them up a bit as it dries. I mean, in a few hours you can open them up again and they'll stay where you put them. So then we just go in between the other layers. Some of the outer petals on the pictures, they do drop back a little. If you want it to be like that, then so be it. It's your flower, you do it how you want it to be. Depends what sort of an effect, because I mean flowers come at different stages, so if you're doing a bouquet of flowers, it's not always a good idea to make them exactly the same. And anybody that's making these commercially, don't forget to charge a decent price for it, because there's a lot of work involved. So there we are, that's all that put together like that. As I say, I'm going to leave that to dry upside down like that, so I just bend the wire over like that and pop it into something and leave that. Right, now then, the leaves. So I want some 28 gauge wires here. There we are. I'm just going to cut one wire into 5 here. Where's me cutters? Me wire cutters. That'll do. So we've got 5 leaves on a stem. There's one set that I've made up here. I can't show you the real ones. I did show the real ones in the last video because I was making the templates then. But that's how the leaves sit on the flower, basically like that. So they're going to come out, just bend that out and get a flower. They're going to go onto the flower like that. So I'll just pop those to one side, and then I'll get my templates that I've made. Now, for anybody that didn't see the video, what I used to trace my videos out was this, which is called a light box. And somewhere I can find my cable. I'll show you how it works. You can go back to the other video and see that. I don't know, I've got my cable plugged in or not. Let's just have a look. No, I haven't. I'm just gonna unplug my light. No, that's my camera. Hang on. Sorry about that. I pulled the wrong plug out and cut my camera off instead. Now if I can find my lead for the light box, wait, oh, it's down there. Oh. It's basically like a mobile phone lead. You plug that into the side in there. No, wrong way round. That's it. And then plug that into an outlet like this at the other end. Get it the right way up. Like that, and then you switch on like that. So you've got these lights in down the side. Now the one thing that I did find out, because on the on Amazon it said to use tracing paper, but I tried ordinary paper. This has already got something on it, but basically I put a leaf underneath it to draw around like that, and then put ordinary paper on top like that, and as you can see the leaf through it. So really you could use silicone paper if you have that in, because obviously you use that for making piping bags. You could use greaseproof paper. You can use ordinary paper for printing, or you can go to the trouble of getting tracing paper. But to be quite honest, I can't see the point in spending money on something like that when you don't need it. Right, so we'll just switch that off and get rid of that. So what you do is you draw around your leaf shape. But if you go to my other video on how to make a template, and it shows you how to make a template for these leaves, but you can do that for anything, any flower you're doing. You can get hold of a petal of a real flower or anything like that and draw around it. You can do the same thing. You don't necessarily have to buy cutters and veiners for everything that you do, as you've seen with a lot of my videos. I don't always, it just depends on what I'm doing, because it's expensive. But basically you've got 3 leaf shapes. That one is the top middle one, which is that one there. This one I've written 2 on that, because you've got one on that side and one on that side, the same. And then on this one here you've got one on one side and one on the other side by turning it over. So let me just unplug that and plug my light back in. Then we have light. Right, so I've got those there. So what you need now is some green paste. I've used a darker green paste than the one. It's the same colour, the only difference is what I did was I took some of this and put white in it to do the centre of the flowers to get a lighter colour. It's all the same colour that I've used, which in this case I think was the, you can see my pot, I think it was the Squire's Kitchen Holly and Ivy. But as I say, the same colour of green from Sugar Flare is Christmas green. It's an extra strength paste, so it might be slightly more expensive than the others, but it's the same colour and it's the better one to use. And I mean, a pot of paste lasts practically forever, really, you know, so I mean it's always worth investing in the right one, because it's going to take you years to use it. I probably go through it a lot faster than you, but I mean, some of my pastes are years old, depending on how often I use that particular colour. So I need a bit of white fat. I'm only going to do one leaf for the simple reason that there's a lot of cutting out here to do. And I hope I put my nail scissors back because I need them for this job, wherever they are. You don't want to go as thin with this, because then what you need to do then is to do your ridge bit. Now if you've got the ridge board, do it on that side, and then remember to take it off your board and turn it over so you can see your ridge. I'm using my ridge rolling pin, which I know some people that watch me have managed to get hold of these. If you look online, there's quite a few different makes of them now. There used to be only one, which is the one that I've got, but now there are others around. Now then, what you need to do now is to find out how big your leaf is. So if I do this one here, I'm going to do two leaves because I'm going to do that one because you've got to turn it over, so you'll understand what I'm talking about there. What I'm going to do now is get my cutting wheel and I'm going to cut across like that and like that. So I'm leaving enough room top and bottom, and then I'm going to go up the side like that, leaving spare on either side. The reason for that is, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my wire into it and then cut it out, because if you try to cut it out while it's on your ridge, you can lose your ridge. So the best way to do is put your wire in first, get the straight end into the end of it like that, up your ridge, and then you can cut out your basic shape. So if you put that back onto there like that, and then just go around your leaf like this. Now you might not get all the detail that there is in the leaf when you're doing this. You just want to leave a little bit round the edge for the next stage. So, oh, there we are. I've got some of my little tiny scissors there. So I've got these little scissors here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pick that up with the template still on it, and then start cutting round the edge of your template like that. Take that bit off. Now you don't have to get all these little tiny bits of detail in round the edge here if you don't want. You can just go around and sort of get the shape like that. And what I've done is I've concentrated on the big parts where the little notches go in like this. And like that, and just just looking up at my camera to make sure I'm still in shot, otherwise people will be complaining again. This is a bit of a long-winded bit to do. But you can take your time at doing it when you're doing it. I'm trying to rush it a little bit. Just keep changing the position in your hands so you can get into wherever. A little bit that I've missed there, down in the bottom. I think I'm just going to do one of these leaves. Otherwise you lot will be yawning watching this. The only thing is, the reason why I'm doing a template from something like this is because if somebody were to make you a leaf cutter, particularly the metal ones, they're quite complicated to make, and it would make them quite expensive, because everything that we do in Sugarcraft, and for anybody who doesn't do cakes, take note of this, when somebody charges a lot of money for a cake, this is why, because it's the length of time it takes you to do a lot of these jobs. So you take that template off there, now we've got your shape of your leaf. Right, so we'll just get rid of all those bits of paste. Not wasting anything. I'm not going to do the other one because you're going to get really bored watching me do this. Don't shout at the screen saying, yeah, do it all, do it all. All you've got to remember is with that leaf and that leaf is to do one way and then turn them over and do them the other way. That's all you need to remember. Right on your leaf, turn over, so you know when you've got a left and a right. Right, now then, I have used a veiner for this, but because I haven't got a veiner for Ranunculus, what I've used is a anemone veiner. Because when I looked at the leaves on the actual flower, which I have got plenty of, they are very similar, and that fits into there nicely anyway. So first of all I'm going to thin the edges. I'll get my ball tool, go around the edges. Now I know you've probably seen some people thinning the edges after they've done the veining. To me, that's a waste of time, because you're losing your veining on the edge of your leaves if you do that. So I always thin the edges first before I put it in the veiner. Then you get your veining right up to the edge of your leaves. I'm not saying they're wrong, that's their way of doing it, but this is my way of doing it. Pop the veiner on top, give that a good press like that. So I've got my veining in it there, and then to get your foam, and then what I do is I just sit it in the middle layer, so it sort of cups it up a little bit so they're not flat, because if you do leaves flat, even if they're flat in reality, they don't look right in sugar. I'm just checking my microphone hasn't gone off, because it's got batteries in there, and there's nothing worse than running out of power for the microphone when you're doing a video and then having to do a narration over it, which I have done, which fortunately most of the time you can't see me talking, so you can't see that I'm not lip syncing. Right, so that's how the leaves go. So what I'm going to do is get onto the colouring first of all. So the colour I've used for the leaves here, I have got some dried ones that are already here. Now what have we done here? Got two of them, don't know what that is, and one of that. Yeah. Right, so I've got my green brush here. Get some dust onto your brush, off your brush, and then dust all over with that. Making sure you're starting from the edges, pulling it in. Then turn it over without putting any more powder on it and just give a waft over the back. So the backs of leaves are always lighter than the fronts. If you just check whatever it is you're doing just to make sure that that's the case, but you generally find that the backs of leaves are lighter, so you don't need as much colour on there. Just enough to make it look as though it's all part of it. But there again, in most cases, if you're doing flowers to go on a cake, people aren't going to look at the back of the leaves. They're looking at the whole arrangement as a whole, not as a separate item. I'm not doing these leaves in order because it doesn't matter which way round I do them, as long as they're all done. Oh, that's the soft one that I've just done. I didn't realise I was doing that one. That's what that other one is. I was right. I think I've knocked a bit off of that one. That's why it's a little bit... It doesn't matter if you knock a bit off. You know, if there's a bit of a tatty petal on the edge or something. As I was told when I first started learning sugarcraft, nothing is perfect in nature. And if you go and have a look in your garden or in a florist or anything like that, you will find that there are sometimes slight imperfections in things. And when you're doing sugarcraft, because you do include that sort of thing into it, it doesn't make them look more realistic. Right, so once we've done that, then the next step then is to varnish your leaves. Whoops, just drop the top off of it. Never mind, I'll pick that up later. Just varnish all over the leaves. That sets your colour, and it also gives you that sheen you get on lots of leaves. Depends what kind of leaf you're doing. Some of them are quite dull. If that's the case, what you need to do is to mix some of the glaze with some glaze cleaner in a separate receptacle, and keep that separate just for doing those. And we do what they call half glaze and quarter glaze. Quarter glaze if they're really dull. Half glaze is when they look a bit waxy, and then full glaze, which I've just used now, if they're a bit shinier. But sometimes you have to build the shine up on your leaves. If they're not shiny enough, like something like holly or laurel or something like that, then you glaze it, let it dry, and then glaze it again to get it even shinier. So there's just a couple of tips there on glazing things, to give you an idea of what you can do. I'll just pop that up there for now. Just have to make sure I don't knock that over, so I don't want that all over the place. Right, so I'll just pop those to one side to dry. So I'll get some more kitchen roll out, ready for doing the colours. Now I'm going to do a couple of different kinds of colours. Dusting colour, which you've seen me do on most of the other flowers that I do, but also on this white one, it's got some burgundy right on the very edge of the petals. Now to try and do that by dusting it, you won't get it as fine as it is on the real flour. So I think what I will do is, I think I'll start off with that one first of all, if I can find my hypodermic. I've got some in there. Yes, I have. Right. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some burgundy here. This one I think is called Garnet, is this one. So you want a bit of the powder in the lid. I always use the lid as the palette, because when you finish doing it, you can just let it dry out, and then you can reconstitute it. And what I'm doing is, I've cut a bit of the foam off of one of my pads to do this. So I'm just going to do is mix that with that onto there. And if you get your flour, and then just catch the very edges like that. There we are. Simple as that. So clever, isn't it? It's fascinating sometimes, some of the things that we do in sugarcraft, the effects that we can get. You know, it's just amazing. That looks so pretty. Right, so that's that one. So if you want to colour the very edges like that, you can do that. You could actually do that on, I could do that on this pink one as well, just to give that a different dimension. If we just try it on that and see what that looks like, using the same colour, you just get a different sort of effect on there, like that. Just put that to one side. Now then, I've got a burgundy one here. Now with the burgundy one, I didn't start off with a lighter colour in the centre. The burgundy ones are the same colour all the way through. So what I'm going to do is, using the same colour, get that, I'll just find my brush for my burgundy. Blue, purple, that one. So this time I'm going to do it with colour. Right, onto your brushing off. It doesn't matter so much with this, but normally when you're doing the edge of flowers and that, you should be careful you don't get specks of the powder going where you don't want it to go. But because this is an all over colour, I'm only doing really the edges because that's all you can get into really. But by doing this, it makes it a little bit darker than the original colour. It's like everything else, you want a base colour to start off with, and then you can add colour with your powder colour to make it look darker. I've gone a bit off camera there. Here we are. This has been done a few days, as you can see it's still quite flexible. So that's the darker burgundy one. Now in the orangey coloured one, get a different brush. Use that one. That's got a bit of yellow on it. I've got a bit of an orange one here. I couldn't tell you what colour this is because because they're written on by the suppliers that I get them from. They tend to fade a bit. I've got them near the sun, so that's probably why they've all faded. And also you get powder on them and all sorts. So I'm just going to go around the edges of this As you can see again, these petals are really flexible. This has been done a couple of days as well. But I'm going to do it mostly on the outer petals rather than the inner petals, because they're meant to be paler anyway. So I'm just going to catch the edge of these petals here. There we are. So that's that one. So those are just a few ideas for you to do Ranunculus. I'll put the leaves together first before I do that. I knew there was something else I had to do, just get rid of these colours out of the way. That's still wet, so I'll leave that to dry out. Let's get rid of that and that paper with the colour on it. Right, so I should have some tape here already cut somewhere. I'm going to find what I've done with it. Ah, there it is. So I'm using a sort of a mid-green tape. Stretch your tape to find out which is your stickiest part, and then what I would do is to start off with your middle one, which is that one, I think. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover each of the wires with this colour so that they're all the same, because you're going to have some of the stem showing. Also as well, when you come to put your leaves together in the arrangement, you'll find that they should grip a bit better as well. Bring that a bit further down. I'm having one of these days where it won't roll on properly. Just bear with me a second. Happens to the best of us. Like I keep telling people, when things go wrong, there we are, I've got it. I don't stop doing what I'm doing, because you need to correct it so that people know if it happens to them what to do. Just turn the camera up a bit more that way so you can see what I'm doing here. It's easier for me to sit back and do it. Nip that in with your thumb, which I didn't do before. There we are. Oops. Always start off a little bit lower than your leaf so that it doesn't get in the way like that was of my finger. Then when you've got it going, then push it up underneath the leaf like that, and then just continue down. Again, start halfway down the stem, like that. I haven't got that one nipped in, have I? Better. A bit loose, it's not gripping. Behave yourself. The only trouble is when you're doing a lot of wiring, you tend to get a build-up of glue on your fingers, so they stick to it. Just push that up. There we are. Got ya. You will stick on there. You must also remember to stretch your tape as well to release the glue. So you need to find out which is the stickier side. Although it's all the way through the tape, you generally find one side is stickier than the other. So you want that side up against your wire. Mind you, it's very warm here as well, so everything's getting a bit sticky because we've had a couple of very warm days. Although it's not, the sun's not out yet, it's a bit cooler, but this one's not behaving, so I'm not happy with that. Just take that off, start again, get rid of that piece of tape. I think I'm getting a build-up of glue on my fingers, that's what's happening there. I think that's better. Last one's always the worst one to do. When you start putting leaves together into the arrangement of that, they tend to go to better when you've got more than one wire in. When you've got probably about 3 wires together, then they tend to cling a bit better because you've got more to get hold of. There we are. Right, put that up there. I know sometimes people look at you doing this saying, oh, you make it look so easy, I can't do it like that. Yes, you can. Practice. That's where it comes in. Right, so we'll start off by getting your middle one, which we're having as a middle. That one. Now you need to leave about, how much wire have I got on there? Probably about 1 inch of wire. This is, oh, I was speaking too soon. I was just about to say this is going on easy, but it's not. It is now. And then put in your 2 leaves that are going to go to the side, same length. Like that, and twist them in. Now I'm going to tape down with these 3 together like that, because if you tape down in between you find that everything stays better where it's supposed to go. So that's those 3 together. Make sure you get the sticky side, that's that side. Start that off again, and then, no, wrong side, other side. Make sure that it's straight before you start. So when you're pulling, because you're stretching with one hand and twisting with the other. Roll that up to where you started with those leaves, and now these 2 leaves want to go in with the front facing inwards at the same height, like that, and like that, and then tape down. It doesn't matter if you have to come back and watch the video a few times. You can always skip parts of it if you just want to get back to how I put these leaves together, because that's probably slightly more complicated. Take that off, and then what you do then is those 2 leaves that we've done that way around come out. That one comes out like that, and that one comes out like that. So there's your spray of leaves. What I'll do is I will just get rid of that. Now attach Where's my tape that I've just used? Is that it? Yeah. I'm going to attach a set of leaves to a flower to give you an idea what it looks like with the leaves with it. So if you get that one, oh, what I didn't do on the flowers was the calyx, did I? I've missed that off. Just bear with me a second. So I'm going to go back to the dark green paste that I've done. I know you've seen the calyx before, but I haven't got a calyx on that one. I'm going to put the leaves on. I can't put it on afterwards, so you just bear with me a second while I find the calyx cutter that I've used. There it is. I've used a small calyx cutter. That comes out of a small set like this. Now I looked on the pictures and I thought, well, they just look like rose calyx, so that's why I've used the rose calyx. Sometimes we use other things. It depends on what kind of flower you're doing. Like a peony has a different kind of calyx, so I use a rose petal cutter for the calyx on that. So we'll just roll some of this out. How many? That's got a calyx on it. That's got a calyx on it. That's got a calyx on it. I've just got one to put the calyx on, right, plus the one that I've got there. So I'll just take that tape off of there. So if I cut two out, then I can do both of those there. Lost a bit off the end of my calyx there, but never mind. So onto your ball pad. Where's my ball tool gone? There. That's got a bit of stretch, so I'm just going to take a bit of that off. There we are. That easy. And then what I would do then is to ball tool down the centre like that to curl your petals up, so when you put them onto the back of the flower they fit on a bit better because they're going in the right direction. You can always do the centre a little bit as well like that. Then glue then we want that. Oh, that has got a calyx on it. Have I done them on all? I've done them on all of them. I didn't need to. Never mind. Right. Get the one that I made earlier and put the calyx on that one. Into the centre like that. Bring it up. Doesn't matter where it falls. Just bring your points down like that on the back. There doesn't seem to be a hip type thing on the back either. On these it looks to be quite flat, so that's how I've done them. But I mean, when you're putting them in a spray, nobody's going to see the back anywhere. Where are we? Gone that way, sorry. I went out of camera, so I put that on the, bring the camera back down there. on the back like that. So that's the one I did earlier. Now this is stiffening up a little bit while I've been online. So you can open your petals out a little bit now if you want, and then put it upright to dry. That can be dusted later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach some leaves to a couple of these flowers, just to give you an idea. Make sure I get the sticky side, that side. Right. So I'm going to leave a couple of inches there and then put the leaves in this way round. I'm assuming, because they're not in flower yet, that that's how they go. Just going to come up a bit higher up so that that attaches up to there, and then take it back down again. So there we are, a ranunculus with its leaves added. So I'm just going to do another one. Do that orange one. Put that back into there. And get the other set of leaves. Where are they? Oh, there they are. Bend that one out. Down to the bottom, and then you just bend that out a little bit like that. So there we are, another one. So we've got two of them there with a set of leaves attached to the flowers. So that's how I make my ranunculus in flexible flower paste. Just get rid of that. I'm just going to put that, I'm not wasting that paste, it goes into there. They've all got Tylo powder in, so it doesn't matter, it's got the glue on it. Just mould it into your paste and put that away. Move that out of the way. Bring all the flowers over. Let's get rid of those centres out of the way. So there I've got my ranunculus flowers and leaves. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. And as I say, if you've got any questions to ask about the videos, anything that you've seen in it, or anything you'd like to see me do, then please do get in touch, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and give me a like if you like what I'm doing. Give me a like down below. So take care, stay safe, and see you soon.